What's up, y'all? Alvin here, and this is question and answer episode 12. We're almost a teenager. I tell the good jokes. All right, so couple things before we start answering these questions. First off, I just want to thank everybody once again for playing along, asking these questions, keeping me occupied. It's a ton of fun. I hope you guys are enjoying them as well. Second, I want to ask everybody to sign up for my email list. I'll leave a link in the description. If you want to make sure you keep up with me and everything I'm doing, the email list is the best way. You know, YouTube could go away tomorrow, Facebook could go away tomorrow, but you probably still going to have your email. So sign up to my email list. If you haven't, subscribe to the channel, all that YouTube kind of stuff, that helps me out a lot. All right, so let's get into it. First up is Chase Rogers. And Chase wants to know, where do you find tarpon in Texas? And I'm going to say the short answer is the coast. Although Texas Parks and Wildlife has stocked some tarpon in some of the lakes, but I don't think any of them made it. But yeah, there's tarpon on the Texas coast. There's been tarpon on the Texas coast forever. Right now, if I was going to try to pick one place to go to catch a tarpon in Texas, I would head down to South Padre. Second place would be up around Port O'Connor. I've tried a few times. I've seen some Texas tarpon. I've never had any success, but there's a handful of guides that really specialize in catching them. It's a real kind of hit or miss thing. It really depends on the weather. You know, there's a lot of days when you want to go try and it doesn't happen, but you can catch tarpon in Texas. So the two places I would go would be either South Padre or Port O'Connor. Thanks for the question, Chase. Next up is a question I get asked a lot. So Anthony Russo, Brian Booma, my good buddy Tim Kerr all want to know, what is that do not enter sign that is over there on the cabinet? And that is actually my sign that I put on the door when the kids are here to keep them from busting into the garage while I'm out here trying to record videos, because they got no respect. But they do know how to read, and that sign will usually at least slow them down. Thanks for the question. My old buddy Michael Humphrey, also known as Big Yeti, wants to know, how common are drum in freshwater? The freshwater drum that you see us catching, the Gasper Goo, they're actually pretty common. We only catch them consistently certain months of the year, usually during the winter. They're found in a lot of different waterways all throughout the state of Texas, and they're pretty awesome fish. Not a lot of people target them specifically, but more people are starting to. They're a ton of fun. I mean, they get big and they pull hard, and they are members of the drum family. They make that drumming sound when you pull them out of the water, so they're just a freshwater version of, say, a redfish or black drum. Thanks for the question, Michael. Surfer Paulo wants to know my favorite Texas barbecue spot. I'll tell everybody something you probably don't know about me. For about 20 years, I did not eat red meat. I didn't eat chicken. I didn't eat turkey. I did eat fish and other seafood, and I wasn't a freak about it. You know, I love Mexican food, so I ate plenty of beans with lard. I do eat red meat now, and I do like barbecue, but I kind of feel like barbecue restaurants in Texas are sort of like Mexican restaurants in Texas. There's so much competition that if a place is still open, it's probably good or great and at least decent. So I'm not really a barbecue snob. You can take me pretty much to any barbecue place in Texas and I'm gonna like it, which is good. Anyway, thanks for the question. That's a good one. Joe D wants to know, is there any fish you absolutely can't stand to catch? And I'm gonna have to say no, but I'm not a huge fan of catching catfish. You know, I'm just always worried we're gonna drop the catfish on somebody's foot, you know, or somebody's gonna get poked by a catfish spine. And they do tend to leave like, this kind of gummy residue on a leader. So I could do without the catfish, but I don't hate them. Thanks for the question, though. That's a good one as well. Okay, so Scrub Zero wants to know, if you were a blue-collar fly fisherman and had a few $1,000s to spend to book a guided trip, where would you go? And that's a great question, and I think the answer would depend on whether you're a trout fisherman or a saltwater fisherman, angler. If you wanted to do something saltwater and probably get the most bang for your buck, I would probably go to Belize. You could stay at one of the established lodges. There's several great ones there, or you can track down some of the guides and book them on your own and just stay in an inexpensive hotel somewhere. Belize is great, pretty safe. Everybody speaks English. The food is great. People are super friendly, beautiful. Tons of bonefish. Not a lot of huge bonefish, but a lot of bonefish. So that would probably be my number one suggestion. And then beyond that, if you're a trout fisherman, I'd probably just book a trip to Colorado or New Mexico, maybe Montana, Wyoming, but somewhere in the western US. Get a hotel, hire some guides out of the nearest fly shop, and you'll have a great trip. That's going to be fairly inexpensive. It's not going to be like going to New Zealand or Mongolia or the Seychelles, but it'll cost you a lot less money, and I guarantee you'll probably catch just as many fish and most likely have just as good a time. Thanks for the question. I ain't rich, so I feel it. All right, so Maverick One wants to know, if you could pick out a brand new flat skiff, which one would you get? And which motor would you put on it? The answer is actually pretty easy for me. I would probably get the boat that I have already. The Hells Bay 18-foot Waterman with a 70-horse 4-stroke Yamaha. And the reason I say that is because, it's tried and true. That model has been around forever. Tons of people have used it. It's a great all-around boat. It gets really shallow. It works great in the chop, and it's really easy to pole. The 70 horse got plenty of power, fairly light, great gas mileage, and just the reputation stands up to the test of time. So I'm pretty happy with it. And if I was getting a new one, that's what I would get now. You can definitely get less expensive boats that will do everything you need them to do, and you can definitely get much more expensive boats. But for me, that would be the one. And fortunately, that's the one I have. Thanks for the question. Rick Everett wants to know, if one wanted to use a fly rod for surf fishing, what would one use? I would probably use the same rod that I use for fishing redfish. The only difference is in the surf, you would want two things. One would be some type of sinking line, whether an intermediate or even a faster sinking sink head, sink tip, and a stripping basket. The stripping basket is probably the most important thing, because if you're in the surf, the water's moving around. Every time you strip your line in, it's going to hit that water and immediately start tangling around your feet. So the stripping basket is probably the most important thing for fly fishing in the surf. Thanks for the question. Okay, so White Tacoma 76 wants to know, what length of leader do you use for clouser minnows? And that really kind of depends on what I'm doing with them. Typically, I go with the standard 9-foot tapered leader. If I was wanting to get the fly down deeper, a weighted clouser, and I didn't want to go with a sinking or sink tip line, I would extend that leader out, maybe put 3 or 4 feet of tippet on the end of my 9-foot leader with that weighted clouser that'll allow the fly to sink deeper. But, pretty much just go with the standard 7.5 to 9 foot tapered leader, matched to the size of the fly. Thanks for the question. So Hunter H. Gilbert wants to know about GPS fish finders for shallow water fishing, if I use them a lot, and what are the pros and cons. I actually do not use any type of GPS in freshwater because I'm mostly in the rivers, and you just go up the river and you come back, you know where you are. There's not a lot of really deep holes, so I don't really see much need for the GPS unit on the river. Although I do know people who use them, and it's pretty cool because you can find where the really deep holes are certain times a year. That's where you're going to find the fish, and you can actually spot fish with them on occasion. Now, where I do use a GPS unit daily is in the salt, and I don't really use it for finding fish as much as navigation. It's good to have something in case the weather gets bad, it gets cloudy, you lose your light, and you're out in the middle of the bay. You can get turned around really easy. I do have a compass, and I do know how to use a map and a compass if I had to. But the GPS unit is so much easier. So I think it's a great safety feature to have on the boat. Maybe not rely on it because if you get lost and then the GPS unit goes out, you're in even more trouble. But it's definitely something good to have. Another thing I like to keep it for is just kind of keeping track of how many miles I'm running in the boat. Most skiffs don't have fuel gauges. They got that little stick you can stick in the fuel tank. But I like to keep up with how many miles I ran throughout the day, what kind of RPMs versus miles per hour my motor is hitting, so that I can make sure I got the right prop and everything's all set up. So I do think in saltwater there's a lot of good reasons to have a GPS unit. If you were in freshwater and you were fishing mostly lakes, I would say you definitely want one. But for me, not at all in freshwater, and mostly for navigation in saltwater. Thanks for the question. M Cooker 145 wants to know, when can we expect a Bad Mother Goose reunion? I don't think that's going to be happening. I think everybody's, although there's several of the band members who are still in the music business, I just don't see a reunion happening. So fortunately, there's lots of stuff out there on the internet. But yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. Thanks for the question, though. Okay, so Johnny Reach wants to know, what is your best advice for a beginner guide? Now, I can make an entire video about this subject, but I'll just throw out a couple things. One is make sure that guiding, not fishing, but guiding is something that you really want to do, because it is pretty tough to break into it and to get to the point to where you're actually making a living. So if you're young and you don't have any responsibilities, no bills, you can just kind of grind it out and make it happen. If you're older and you've got a career and you're thinking, I'm going to switch over and do this, I wouldn't quit your day job right off the bat. So just as far as the business of guiding goes, you really do have to think about it like a business, because it is. There's a lot of things that go into making it happen on the front end. There's a lot of cash you got to spend for equipment, and then just all the time you need to spend to learn the areas that you're going to be guiding on. And that's the other thing I would say. Make sure that you know your waterways, your fisheries inside and out as much as you possibly can before you decide to take money from people to take them fishing. I would say go out and spend some time with some other guides. Tell them in advance, like, hey, I'm thinking about getting into this business. Can I pay you to take me fishing? And talk to me about it and help me decide if this is really something I want to do. Some guides will say, no way, I ain't taking you out. But a lot of guides will, and a lot of guides will actually help you and encourage you if it is really something that you want to do and you're really cut out to do. I got nothing but encouragement for you. It is an amazing career. I love what I do, but it's tough. It's really hard in the beginning, and you just got to be prepared for that. All right, Johnny, thanks for the question. Good luck out there. All right, we're going to do one more, and this is, kind of a fishing question, but not really. R. Peters 89 says, enjoying the video, so figured I would give it a shot. What is something you think everyone should try at least once in life? So if you're watching this video, you've probably already tried fly fishing, so that would be the easy one. You should all try fly fishing. But I think everybody should try something. I have two answers to this question. The first one is you should just try something that you think you're definitely not going to like. Whether that's some type of food, some type of activity, just try something that you're certain you're not going to like at least once or twice or 3 times. Because eventually you're going to realize you don't know everything about everything and you may surprise yourself. That's answer number 1. Answer number 2 is I think everybody should, at least once in their lives, wake up in the morning and decide that you are going to be the nicest person in the world for the rest of that day. Everybody you run into, you're going to assume that they are the nicest person in the world as well. Treat them that way, and I think you will have an amazing day no matter what happens because you've already decided that you're the nicest person in the world, right? And everybody you meet is the nicest person in the world as well. I think a little shift in mindset will help everybody out regardless of what you're doing. Fishing, regular life, business, whatever. Just try it. Just for one day. Just wake up in the morning and decide that you're going to have an amazing day. And I guarantee you, something's going to happen. Who knows what's going to happen? But I guarantee you it's going to be more fun than waking up and deciding to have a terrible day. All right, y'all. That's enough for this week. Like I said at the top, I want to thank everybody for watching the videos, for asking questions, for helping me out in this whole YouTube journey, fly fishing journey. It's so much fun, and it's just more fun knowing that y'all are out there doing it with me. Okay, so if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, all that YouTube stuff. I'll see you in the next one, and in the meantime, good luck on the water.